to read the very concise minutes from our last meeting.
Yes.
Any comments or changes?
No, it's great.
Hearing none. We'll approve the minutes. Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any old business? Anything we need to discuss?
No, just, I don't know if that's old business. It probably could wait, but just to kind of give you guys, if I can, just a quick FYI of just some things kind of going on downtown. I'm sure if you haven't heard by now, you would have heard very soon. All Jekyll Brewing locations closed across Georgia and Florida. Jekyll Brewing no longer exists, so our Jekyll Brewing is now closed. There were a lot of folks that were very concerned because that is a massive, beautiful space. But I told everyone at the CRA meeting yesterday, rest assured, everything is perfectly fine as far as the tenant space goes because it is already filled. They have not released the name of who, but that space where Jekyll Brewing has already been filled by someone else, and they will be moving in. And so once we can make a formal announcent with permission of the business owner and the building owner, we will announce who that is. So that has already been filled. We've got a new seafood place, Sizemore's. It is where Salt formerly was. They are set to open here, honestly, I think anytime. I think they're doing a soft opening, friends and family, this weekend. In fact, I think several people have been able to sample some of their food. So we've got a new seafood restaurant going there, which is really exciting. And further down in our South End district, in the Home Depot Plaza, I don't know if anyone cares, but TJ Maxx is opening this Sunday. So that is exciting. And then there is also a virtual simulation golf business is also going into that plaza. They just got their tenant build out permit. So we will be getting, it's called Back Nine. Not really art related, but just some kind of fun development updates. We are moving.
There's a Shake Shack going in that same development as well.
Yes, and then we're getting another barbecue place on Beach Boulevard as well. We got a lot coming.
Yeah. There's something going in Bearded Pig.
Don't know yet.
Yeah.
Probably too.
Don't know. I don't know yet. No one yet.
No one yet is going.
At least that we know.
Jekyll Island Brewery, I know they reached out to Ty
Mm-hmm.
to buy their stuff, but somebody's going. They've got somebody for that.
For Jekyll Brewing?
Yeah.
Yep.
For the brewery. And just briefly, the concept of Sizemore's, oceanfront, what used to be called Salt.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's upscale seafood. It's definitely sit-down dining. They did an interior renovation, pretty much the whole space. It's very modern. It's a very modern coastal, from what I can tell. And it is a seafood restaurant. And I think, at least in Jack's Beach proper, it's the only seafood restaurant with a view of the ocean, I believe. That's a true seafood place with an ocean view. So we're super excited, and once they open, everybody check them out.
Excellent.
You weren't here for were you here for when it was the Atlantic?
Yeah.
There's a line waiting. There's the line to get to the restaurant.
Yeah.
That was the Pinners.
And we have a new Mexican restaurant where Goat was, right here.
That was the Pinners then.
Like
whenever
2 blocks
they
that way.
left the Bragg
So.
time, they did the Atlantic
We have a lot of places to
before they
eat.
did the fish company.
That's
So
right.
that's why it was
And I
everybody
enjoyed
there
trying
'cause
them
it was
all.
filling in.
Other than that, where art is concerned, Pure Parking Lot Phase 1 is wrapping up. The fence is supposed to be officially coming down tomorrow. All the hardscaping is done. It looks leaps and bounds better than it ever has.
Yeah.
They're going to continue working, though, on landscaping and installing bike racks down there. And then I anticipate later this year, when I say year, I'm sorry, fiscal year, so before October, I anticipate we will start discussing, again, more seriously, the type of art installation, to go at the Pure parking lot. Because we do have funds allocated next year to do some artwork at the Pure parking lot. And then Latham Plaza, we just reviewed the 60% engineer drawings for that project. We are planning to have the 90% and probable costs by about June. And that phase of Latham Plaza is going to call for, once the bulk of construction is completed, it calls for a couple of different statues and some artistic elements. So I anticipate we'll be seeing that next fiscal year as well. So we are not going to be slowing down anytime soon.
Excellent. And the new dumpster mural is complete, correct?
It is. Yep. And I
Yeah.
can honestly say,
Fantastic.
I'm sorry.
Fantastic.
With
Oh,
every
yeah. They-
with every mural and every piece, it seems the feedback just continuously gets
and they got the
better. We've gotten a ton of public response on that mural, and it's been
Oh, really?
pretty
Great.
good. Yeah.
Great.
Everybody stopped by and was really engaging with the artist. Again, I was just telling Bob this earlier. I don't know how it keeps happening, but we keep finding phenomenal artists for us to work with. I can truly, like, out of the 4 artists that I've had the privilege of working with so far, I don't have one complaint. I don't have one bad thing I could say. They've all been exceptional. So please keep picking them because you guys are doing great. It's been wonderful. So we're very happy.
Fantastic. Yeah, I saw the dumpster at nighttime from Oku, and it looked cool, but I haven't been by there in the day.
They got
Yeah.
the Charles.
Yeah.
Right
Huge.
between the palm trees.
Right. She lined it up really
Yeah,
well.
very intentionally, yes.
Yeah.
It's great.
We're very happy. So that is all I've got for you guys.
Excellent. Anyone else with old business? Okay, and I didn't open it to the floor, but will anyone not in the room wanting to make a public comment? Hearing none, I'll close the floor. New business.
All right, let's get into this. So we just got a couple of quick things for you guys today. One of the first things that we would like to talk about is a Transformer mural program. Full disclosure on this one, we are still having an internal meeting to iron out the safety details and some of the parameters and rules that we will need in place from Beaches Energy because these are their transformers. So as much as we would like to just go and paint on as many as we want and put whatever we want, we do have to work with Beaches Energy and respect safety because some of these transformers are going to get really hot or some might be in a weird location or be accessed more than others. So we're going to work with them to identify the most appropriate ones to paint. So basically what you guys have in front of you is the memo kind of summarizes the program itself. We put some parameters in there. We put some eligibility requirements, compensation. We're going to base the compensation. We've got really and truly 3 different size transformers from what we can tell, and we drove the entire district, and I literally mapped out every public transformer in the district, so I know a whole lot more about transformers than I ever thought I would. But we've got about 3 sizes, and so compensation will range. What it looks like based off of the standard pricing per square foot would make sense would be anywhere from about $300 to $500 up to about $1,000 depending on the size of the transformer. And what we would like to do basically is map them out and have this whole map of where all these transformers are. And we would like to, for maybe the first 5, when we get them identified from Beaches Energy, what we can and cannot use, we would like to, as a committee, pick 5 and say, okay, these are going to be the first 5 we do. We kind of want to spread them out so it's not just a cluster of 5 murals at once, and really kind of use those as kind of the gold standard for the rest of the program. And then after we get those first 5 done, basically at that point we would open up the call and do a certain amount at a time, but we would more so allow the artist to say, hey, I really like the transformer on the corner of this street and that street, or this one is by my house, or this one is by my favorite restaurant. Like, can I paint that one? And then allow the artists, when they're submitting and requesting to paint one, to actually pick one out of our map of the program. So the first 5, we wouldn't necessarily go about it that way. We would probably target the 5 largest and get those done. And then the remaining large ones, medium and small ones, we would let the artists choose. And so really at this point, we would just like some feedback on the program itself. And then we also would like to get a definition from you guys of local. That's a big one. You know, that is a very a gray term. Local can mean just the zip code. Local can mean from Ponte Vedra Beach all the way up through Neptune Atlantic.
Kind of open-ended.
Yeah, so we would just like to get some parameters on local and comments and feedback on the program as we continue to develop it.
Okay, I'd like to start with a question.
Mhm.
The first 5,
Mhm.
the way this is written, it would be $3,000 to do the initial 5 transformers.
Mhm.
So are we imagining that we will have 1 artist rather than 5 artists or 3 artists or what have you that are divvying up that $3,000, which is an amount, but seems like a small amount to be working with multiple artists. If you ask me.
So, what it ended up coming down to was 3 of the ones selected when we did the square footage were basically about that $500 range. So that would be the stipend for that transformer surface would be $500. So there were 3 of those, and then 2 were a little bit larger. And when we did the per square footage, it was about $750. So this was just assuming 2 would be $750 and 3 would be $500. Whether that was 5 artists, 2 artists, 1. The amount per transformer, when we map them out, we're going to tag those values to them based on the square footage.
Okay, I would ask the committee, do we want to be determining 5 different artists for each, or a different artist for each transformer, or are we making it a group?
Trey, to the chair, I guess. That local thing was something I really thought about a lot, and of course have been confronted with it as well. But as far as the 5, like when I read the thing, the $3,000 for 5, that's $600 basically. And some of the transformers are pretty small, you know, like a table almost.
Yeah.
Some of them are kind of like a part of a trailer or something. Some of them are taller. I think letting people pick like their one on their street corner, or like you say, a restaurant or something, they may only want to paint one, and they may be okay with $800 or whatever, like you were saying, the $20 a square foot or whatever.
Yep.
So, I think for this to probably work, people are going to have to be interested in just painting one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we try to just wait and, like, the question is, do we find more than one person to do the transformers? I think the only way it's really going to work. I'm afraid if we get one person to paint all 5 of the first ones, they're all going to look the same, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be anything interesting. You know, just
No,
like,
I agree.
you know, they're trying to do the garbage cans on the beach, and the kids are going to put the artwork in, and then they're going to print a wrap, and they're going to wrap the garbage cans on the beach, all with the kids' different ones. It wouldn't be anything if they all looked the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I just wanted to bring it to the
Yeah.
all right.
the
So
committee
I think
to
that
ask that
definitely,
question.
if we don't get enough people that are interested, or somebody says the only way I can do it is if I can paint 3 and get $3,000, then we can maybe change.
Sure.
But I think
we'll get ample. I mean, maybe not, but every time we've issued a call, I have been shocked by just the sheer amount of.
so. I just think it maybe. And as far as the locals now, one way I thought that we possibly could work the local thing would be in our rubric,
Uh-huh.
where
Okay.
if we had, and we put it in there in the call.
Okay.
If you live in our 3 communities, you automatically start with 10 points, or 5, or whatever the rubric can. If you live outside the community, you're less points. So that at least there would be some margin of local that would be a benefit to a local artist. Then of course we have to see what their subject matter is. But I'm just thinking maybe on the rubric and in the scoring we put in the column. If you live in our 3 neighbors, you're 5 points ahead on the score or something, because let's just say my daughter was in Savannah at the graphic arts school. She's living in Savannah because she got a job there. She's no longer local when she went to Fletcher, you know, and UNF. So and she wanted to paint one of them.
Yeah.
She's as local as they get. She just happens to live in Savannah. And I mean, like, I know the guys with the artistry that I've worked with, their business is at the beach, but the guy who owns it lives in Hidden Hills.
Yeah.
We can't do something like currently resides in.
So when they apply, they do have to. The way we have it set up is they have to put their address. Now, I will say, like in the last call, I think 1 or 2 of them, the address was their business address, which, to be fair, we put was fine. To either, we kind of treated it a little bit like with CRA board members, for example. They either have to live or have business in Jacksonville Beach. And so when it was the art submissions, they either basically had to live locally or have business locally. And It was a little tricky because it was like, you know, some people will call and say, well, I've done murals at the beach. I'm like, well, that's not your business. Like, where is your business? Oh, well, my business is in, you know, Green Cove Springs. Well, okay, then you're not local. Like, you don't live here. You don't have your, you know, brick and mortar facility here. And so when we did local, we kind of opened it both ways, where if your brick and mortar business is at the beaches or you live at the beaches, that
And by
qualifies.
beaches, that's Jack's Beach,
So the last,
Neptune,
yes,
or Atlantic.
and last call Ponte Vedra as well.
Ocean County.
Through the chair, what was the last thing you just said?
Ponte Vedra. So actually, the last call was more than just the beaches. The last call was Jacksonville was local, and it was Jacksonville. We received, and the only thing that is just for numbers purposes, and so everyone is aware, we received right about 20 applicants. Some submitted more than one proposal. One thing we would like to see while we're on this is when we have future applicants, maybe not for Transformers because that's a little different, but for a standalone mural project, one artist, one submission. Because we were having some that were submitting 15 designs, and then you look it up, and they've submitted these designs 7 other places. So it didn't seem quite as genuine. That's something to consider. And then also, you know, we had about 20 applicants. I think 3 were truly Jack's Beach proper, like lived in Jacksonville Beach, 1 Neptune, 1 Atlantic. So of 20, 5 were truly only the beaches, were 5 applicants out of 20.
But through the chair, I think the rubric is a good idea. I personally, I put a lot of thought into the locals too, and I come back with Jacksonville Beach proper. That local would be Jacksonville Beach, not Neptune Beach, not Ponte Vedra, not Atlantic Beach. They don't necessarily include us in their projects, and the only reason I say that is for this small project, not for the larger projects that we RFP, etc. But for
That's
this smaller project, I could see limiting it to Jacksonville Beach, and quite frankly, what I don't think we want to do is have 20 applicants times 5 for these transformers. I mean,
Right.
I'm not sure we want to sit here and go through tons and tons of applicants like we do for the larger projects. So I would be tempted personally to limit it or to use the rubric that Jacksonville Beach would be an extra point or extra 5 points.
Yeah, I think if we were to, at least staff's recommendation would be for the Transformer program. I'll be honest, when I first heard you say Jacksonville Beach only, it was like, oh my gosh, can't do that. But for the Transformer program,
Yeah.
it may be the one where it might make sense to
Most
do
times.
that
Right.
because
Because it's beaches energy.
Yeah.
it may make sense to do that there. And but to your point, I would agree that on our bigger projects, even on the bigger ones that we're saying let's keep them local, we
Absolutely.
expand local just a hair.
Absolutely.
Just because we want to make sure,
Quality.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and you know, broaden that applicant pool a little bit. But I do actually, I think you actually changed my mind right here in real time for the Transformer program. I think it would, I could see that one being appropriate to keep it to Jacksonville Beach and to maybe use our friend Bob here who has connections at the high school and really encourage a lot of up and coming and younger artists to apply for some of
Now,
these
that's
calls.
interesting because years ago, the Beaches leader wanted us to decorate their paper boxes.
Mm-hmm.
The newspaper boxes were scattered all around the beach, and they offered, so many to a school. You had to go pick them up, but the Beaches leader was a local newspaper. They didn't bring, newspaper boxes to Sandalwood, so yes, it's the same kind of,
And the artist,
idea.
like you were saying.
Yeah, we could do that with the kids.
Yeah.
Your neighbors, the neighborhood may want to come together for that transform.
Yeah.
Your neighborhood. There's a lot of things. I do not think we want to get bogged down again in the same kind of commitment that we have to the larger projects.
No.
Right.
I would agree.
Agree.
I would agree.
I think the 1 submissions per person is definitely a good.
Okay. I like that.
And for this, yeah, I like the idea of building into the rubric, but I'll remind everyone, in our last submission, there was literally a half a point between the top 5 applicants. So a 5-point lead would disqualify everyone else.
Oh, yeah, we would have to try to change our
So I
rubric.
like how you're thinking, but that would be, nobody else could apply. We wouldn't even need to look at them.
Right.
I would almost recommend, instead of making it a point value, how on when we get to the next item, we have an actual rubric attached to that one. That's a simplified version, but some of the questions on that rubric are simply just yes or no. I would almost add local as a yes or no. To where if it comes down to it, rather than someone being 5 points ahead of somebody just because of their zip code,
I agree.
it comes down to, okay, there's a point between these two. We're really, really torn. We love both. Let's look. Oh, this one got a yes on this box because they are local. Okay, well, that bumps them up. I think that way it keeps the quality of the art, it keeps that playing field the same, but at the very end, it gives you that ability to award one locally without attaching a point value, if
Without
that makes sense.
penalizing someone, you know, unjustly
Right,
because, you know, I'm not a local and, you know, there you're going to have drama.
I felt, you know, this is exactly what you're saying. Whenever I went through, like, for the pavilion, and if it wasn't in Florida, I just glanced at it just to see if it was really spectacular, because I personally narrowed down to Florida because I didn't think we wanted to get somebody from Texas,
Sure.
New York. So I did have that same feeling, like you're saying. Well, kind of regret. I mean, maybe I missed something that could have been great, but at the same time, we know we started with Florida. Just
Yeah.
like,
I think maybe adding a yes or no category to the tail end of that rubric where, okay, you've got these scores added up, so you've got your point values, and you can really see at that point kind of, okay, who are truly the top candidates, and then out of the top, if it's 5 or 8 or whatever, and maybe out of those 5, 3 are local, I think then it makes that decision a little bit easier. Adding a yes or no box to the rubric on if they're local.
And I think on the Transformer program, it almost might be hopeful that people, there might not be any competition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We may only have one submission for one particular box in Seabreeze subdivision. You know what I mean? Oh no, we're only doing downtown, right?
Yeah.
So just
For
like in
now.
downtown, somebody
now,
in
it's only
downtown could
downtown.
be like, you know, I want that box. You know, that's the Salt Life box.
Yeah.
And there may only be one submission.
Right.
what
So
would
will there, I think that's a good point. And will there be pictures of or locations for all the boxes? In
So-
Do we
the,
have
in the
those
RFP?
locations?
Not yet. I mean, I have them on a piece of notebook paper, but I have not. So I'm going to work with our communications manager. I actually invited him to this meeting for the record, and he did not come. I'm just kidding. But he and I are going to work together to basically create, if you've ever looked at some art committees' websites, they'll have an interactive map where it'll show you kind of like an overview aerial of the district, and then it'll map out here are 40 transformers, and when you hover over it, it'll tell you the size, the shape, how much that one will be, you know, whatever dollar value is added. And then as we paint them, our goal is to add those in our current public arts and do one big art map to be able to have on our website where people who are visiting can scan our QR codes that are out there, and it'll take them to the website and they can see, hey, you like this piece? Okay, we'll go over here and check out this one, and we'll have everything digitally mapped is our long-term goal. So, but we would offer, it may or may not be interactive, but when we issue this call, we will offer a map of all the locations. Whether it's an aerial screenshot with X's, and the X's are different colors indicating the size, it may have to be something that simple depending on how soon we issue the call, but we'll have a map.
You know, along that, I was thinking about signage that, you know, said you're entering the art district of Jacksonville Beach, or something of the sort that designated, let people know that, you know, hey, keep your eyes open. You might see something you like and take a picture. I'm not sure where, as far as the downtown district we're working with, you could put those signs, but it was just something I thought of on a lark.
I would,
You know how the historic
yeah.
areas of,
Normally, I would be all for it. The only reason I'm may be hesitant is because we do have a CRA workshop coming up, and we're talking about the South End district in that workshop. And one of the things we are trying to write into an updated South End plan is actually public art in the South End now. So remember how a minute ago I said that our workload was only getting busier?
We're expanding.
We're expanding. Hopefully, it has to pass, but if it passes, we're going to try to also identify opportunities for art in the South
That's
End
cool.
district as well.
Did they happen to
Side of your
put in
house
the
or
thing
side
that
of mine?
Cortada was talking about, where
Okay.
there was a certain amount of
South
percentage
Beach Art
of
District.
the lease or something, or whatever they do that has to be towards public art? Remember? I don't know. It would have to be in the CRA.
I don't think so.
Cortada was telling us something about some of the cities who would put aside like a certain amount of a build out or a certain amount of a
Oh,
permit.
right. So
You can
that
build this, but you have to add 3% for
that
a
would
piece
be
of art
something
or
we would have to look at with more the planning and development department, because those would have to go in with different fees that we would charge when people are developing.
I'm
So I'm not saying it won't happen, but
I'm just saying there was
A different,
if you pass a new-
different beast that one is.
Yeah.
Well, at least what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're all comfortable with staff continuing with our meeting with Beaches Energy, getting their parameters in place, having them review this, and continuing to map out these transformers with the intent to get ready to issue a call to artists for the transformers. To be completely honest, I don't anticipate this will be anything we do here in the next week. We're not going to issue a call, tomorrow. It's going to take some time with Beaches Energy just to make sure they're comfortable, because they have a lot of requirements that we're going to have to make sure we're able to meet. But if everyone's comfortable with the direction now that we are going, and then I will add, was everyone in agreement on making the transformers Jack's Beach only? Where
Yep.
did everyone stand on that?
Was through the chair? Was that deadline on the 30th? Because one of the deadlines was
No,
May
that's the
30th.
next one.
Oh,
That's
the next one.
That's the next
And
one.
okay,
No, that sounds good to me.
okay.
All
Yes.
in favor? Any other commentary?
All,
Okay.
all in favor?
I
All
Aye.
right.
Okay.
Approved.
All right. Well, I've got some direction. Cool.
Jack's Beach.
Thank you.
And then, and do we all agree that one submission per artist?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
And does that RFP go out to the existing list that you have, or how? will that
Probably,
RFP
maybe. We would probably do like we did last time and place it on all of our social medias. We send it out to everyone who receives the Jack's Beach newsletter, and I did not realize how many people receive that newsletter. I was blown away. We have over 20,000 people subscribed to our newsletter now. Yeah, I was floored. So we would put it in the newsletter, we'll put it on the website, we'll put it on social media. So we'll make sure it gets out. And I also, every time we issue a call, I email the cultural council as well.
If somebody asks what is the address of the newsletter?
Or does it come by email? I mean, how?
It comes.
Yeah.
The newsletter comes by email. You can go to the website and just sign up for it.
Just go to Jack's Beach. I'll just tell them to go to the Jack's Beach website and look for newsletter.
Yes, they're literally. I think at the bottom of our website, there's like a ribbon that scrolls, and I'm pretty sure right there it says "Sign up for the newsletter." Here, see, this would have been good meeting for
It's on
communications.
It's at the top and
under resident. If you like hover over that, it'll pop a link to them.
and then you just enter your email
You can
address.
sign up, or you can just look at them. But if you
Mhm.
sign up, you're gonna automatically get them. You don't have to look for them.
And it's not obnoxious though. It's like once a month. He doesn't send one like every day.
Okay. So I can just tell them to do that, and they'll get updates, and the RFP will be within that. At the very least, the RFP
Yeah,
will be in
when
that.
when these go out, yes, we'll make sure we do a good write up in the newsletter for sure.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I have got some good direction, and we will keep chugging along on this one. And after we have our meeting with Beaches Energy and we kind of fine tune their parameters, I'll send you all an updated version of where we're at with this.
Right, they're going to make sure and tell them like what type of paint or something. They may have something. I don't think it's
Yep.
super particular because they've already painted them green. So
Yeah.
whatever paint's on there is the right kind of paint. Now they just need color.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
So we will make sure, though, like I said, as everyone, as we continue to develop this, we'll keep you all in the loop. Let's see. All right. The next one is, and I don't know why, please forgive me. we were having a lot of issues with Civic Clerk, and for some reason, this printed as a Board of Adjustment memo. It's not. Nobody can figure out why it did it, and we couldn't reverse it. So I promise this is intended for you, not the BOA. This is actually for us to issue a call tomorrow for the first public restroom facility. The first one we would like to do is the one at the pier parking lot. We are kind of at this very transformative stage with the pier parking lot. We've got a new dumpster mural. The new landscaping's going to start going in, all these bike racks. We went the other day and took a look at it. We've cleaned the graffiti off of it. The lot next to it is completely barren and vacant. And so when you're coming south along First Street, all you see is just this big blank wall. That's what you're looking at. God, that's really small. Sorry. But that is all you're seeing. And so what we would like to do is issue a call to artists to paint the entire structure, all 4 walls. And it's approximately about 900 square feet, all 4 walls, and to maintain consistent with all of our other murals, that would be about $18,000. We briefed the CRA on that last night, and they were completely fine with issuing the call. The eligibility right now, as we have it, would be to artists currently residing in Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, or Atlantic Beach. We could expand that to Ponte Vedra Beach if we want to, and we can keep it these 3. We are fine with anything. We put in there that they have to have prior experience with large-scale outdoor murals or similar projects. One of the things that we added this time that I've never added before is going to be that first bullet under submission requirements. And we are requiring that they have a high-quality to scale digital mock-up of the proposed mural, preferably superimposed on the exterior of the building. I think a lot of times that just helps everyone visualize what it's actually going to look like. I think it's unfortunate, and I feel sometimes that some people maybe haven't made it as far along in the process just because the submission was not as quite the same quality as some of the others. And I think sometimes these artists that maybe draw things by hand, you know, with colored pencils, and I look at their portfolio and it's like, oh my gosh, this artist is actually phenomenal, but their submission's just lacking. So we kind of changed that a little.
Ran across that in our last
Yeah. We did.
project.
I think we've ran
Exact
across
same
that
thing.
almost every time.
Portfolio was fantastic and the submission was less than, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yep. And so we would like to request that. This one we're going to leave open again for 2 weeks. That's what we did with the last one, and it really was a pretty good sweet spot timeline. It wasn't too terribly long, but it gave the artist enough time to come up with an idea, generate it, and submit it. One thing in this one that you'll notice is a big difference from the last one is it is a very simplified rubric. The last rubric I think was
Yes.
overkill, maybe. It was a little much. I apologize. I got a little carried away with the last one, but I think we found a sweet spot with our rubrics. So for this one, we made 3 categories up to 5 points apiece. So as many points as they can get is only 15. And it's very simple artistic quality. So it'll show their creativity, the visual impact, and just their overall artistic merit. Their connection here, so their alignment with the coastal, vibrant, and community-focused theme. Their professionalism, this will be kind of looking at that quality of their submission, including their professional mock-ups and concept description. You know, again, sometimes we'll get a good concept, but they'll put 3 words with it. And it's like, okay, come on, we got to give us something. And then experience, we didn't even tack a number to that one. It's just yes or no. Do they have the experience or do they don't? And then I made a note when we were talking in the last one. I will also add a number 5 that will just be local, yes or no. So that'll be super easy to follow. And the only other thing I would like to request is if we move today to move forward with issuing this tomorrow, can everyone check their calendar and see if you are available to move our June meeting to June the 5th? It's the first Thursday.
That would be the best thing for me. I leave June 12th.
I do
Okay.
too.
I don't have a calendar, but I think it'll be fine with me.
The only reason I ask is what I would like to see happen is you guys review and recommend June the 5th. The CRA looks at this June the 11th. I've already got a special called meeting on their calendar. And then June the 16th, council would see it. And then the goal with that is to have it awarded, contract signed, start and completion prior to 4th of July weekend.
Nope, I'm wrong. I live July 12th.
Okay. But is June 5th still okay?
Yes.
Okay.
June 5th works for me.
Okay.
June 5th. We're
All right, I got 3 out of 4. All right, Terry, it's all on you.
I take my wife.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
all
good.
I
right.
take my wife June 6th.
All right. So then, with that being said, we will not have our third Thursday in June. Our meeting will be June the 5th in here from 3 to 5. And that meeting will be to review applicants for this mural. And with all of that, I will quit
So-
rambling and take any questions.
Yeah, so question.
Mhm.
You'll open it up tomorrow.
Yep.
And it'll be up through the 30th.
Mhm.
And we'll have time to review before the 5th.
Yep. So my goal is to close it at 10 a.m.
On site.
I'm going to close at 10 a.m. on the 30th, maybe noon, depending on how. I'll talk to our communications manager today. But when we issue the call tomorrow, it will be clearly written. I won't change the deadline at the last minute, I promise. But it'll be sometime early on the 30th. And then what I will do is I have literally already blocked out my afternoon on the 30th of this month to do nothing but go through these. And I will then send them all to you guys that Friday or Saturday, sometime over that weekend. And then you'll have that week to look at them ahead of time. And then in a perfect world, score them kind of like we did last time, since this rubric is 15 points versus like 1,000 points or whatever I did to you guys last time. I'm sorry, that was a bit much.
Well, it was the number of artists as well.
True.
That was like.
It was intense. It was
Yeah.
very intense. And having such a broad range, Heather pointed it out, that having, 0 to 50 points versus 0 to 5, it's very hard to attach a number to that. It's much easier to go 0 is worst, 5 is best. It's very easy to tack a number. And that, but I will have those to you prior to the meeting.
So what we're
Saying is we should expect an email from you on Friday the 30th.
Or
That
Saturday the
weekend.
1st. Sometime. Yeah.
We need to make a decision by the 5th. Is that correct?
We will have our 2-hour meeting to make a decision.
That's when we're gonna meet.
Yes. We'll have our 2-hour time slot on the 5th to make a recommendation.
Okay.
Did we set a July date as well?
It would be the third Thursday, but depending on where things are, that meeting may or may not get canceled, because I
Okay.
believe we've got some people that are not here for that one, if I'm
Okay.
remembering.
so we're saying
What date is that?
That would be the 24th.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, the 17th.
Is
The
it?
third Thursday
Oh, yeah, you're right.
would be the 17th,
I'm
tentatively.
I'm in Asia then, so I will not be present.
I'm in Ecuador.
Okay, so then I'll go ahead and say it now. No July meeting, because we won't have a quorum.
I'm in South Jacks.
There you
That's
go.
easy. So no July.
I'm in
and-
South Jacks.
Send me a card, will you?
He's in Ecuador. He's
But that clearly delays the transformer submissions.
It may not. If we have to, we may do some shuffling. The transformer thing is going to kind of be very fluid until we can nail down some stuff with Beaches Energy and administration. But I will make sure I keep you guys in the loop via email. And it may be that we decide to start that program. We get everything approved and we start it more in the fall because it's just so hot.
Right.
And I don't know how, if that's going to affect the ability to paint on these surfaces when the surfaces feel like the surface
They're
of the sun.
metal.
So
You're
I will
screaming hot.
have a
Put a tent over it.
yeah. I'll have
That's
a
true.
much better
Work with
update.
shade.
You could do some kind of
Yeah,
you could make some
Um,
kind
we'll
of
figure
shade
it out.
to work
So,
under
do,
for a transformer.
yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Do we have what questions, or am I missing anything to add to this call for the Pure bathroom? We really wanted to still keep this one similar to the last one, where it's pretty broad for what they can submit, as long as it is vibrant, coastal, the unique spirit of the beaches communities. We kind of wanted to keep it.
Do we want to keep it to the 4 sides plus the doors and limit, say, the roof line or the roof or the inside?
Okay, I
Well,
can.
we're gonna definitely have to highlight restrooms. That to me would be like, a smart move for
Oh
any
yeah, that
sub-
is a good point. We do need to.
Any submission would be like, yeah,
Right, but it looked like from the picture that the roof is red, and
It is.
and the coping around it is red, and so do we specify that they could at least adjust the coping, or does that have to be part of?
I will follow up with our chief of maintenance for
those
parks.
are metal roofs.
Yeah.
And they're already that color.
Okay,
So the
I'm asking a question.
The fascia should stay sort of like roof colored, I would say.
Okay.
right.
Okay.
I think they need to leave it. I doubt
And-
anybody will put a submission in where they've included it.
And I will say, as far as the doors go, depending, I think these should be fine because I think they're like our Cape building doors, and that was pretty easy to paint.
Yeah.
Before I 100% say, yeah, we'll do that, I'll text him actually right now and make sure that he thinks those are a good surface to paint on. The reason we didn't paint them for the dumpster enclosure was because the material it just did not make sense to paint
Right.
that. And so that's why that one stayed blank. But I will get the recommendation of Parks, and if it makes sense to include those, we'll make sure we.
Yeah, the Cape building, they primed and painted them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I think on this, it may be up to the artist.
it would be a
They may have-
creative, it would be a creative submission to include the doors in my book, you know?
I think, I mean, at the
Add
Cape
some
building, they
continuity
painted
to
right.
that wall's broken up by 6 doors. I
But-
mean, it'd be hard to,
But through the chair,
Paint around
if we just like the eaves, if we start painting the doors, when people are opening and closing, the mural is going to be handled more than any other place on the building.
Right.
So what you'll have is you'll have something that potentially needs to be touched up periodically, more so than just the mural.
I mean, yeah,
I
this will be
would-
touched
I
way
would
more than the
say-
Cape.
Leave the doors and the eaves alone, just because people will be pushing, pulling, kids, doorknobs.
good point.
It may be minor, but
Good point.
But I think that we may be getting ourselves into a little bit of a
Maintenance problem,
maintenance, just a little bit, but just enough to be a problem.
yeah.
Doesn't have to take much, and as you look at around the doors, there's little scratches and things like
Yeah,
that.
there's no question
Um,
about it.
We
Yeah, yeah.
I think
that makes sense.
that's a good point.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
And I know on the other end where the shower is, it's really a mess. I mean, there's water that splashes on that wall not 24/7,
Yeah.
but basically.
That would-
There's people leaning against the wall, stacking their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I live in this neighborhood.
So in the direction, would we exclude the door? In the direction of the artist, exclude the doors and the eaves, and how would we approach
I
that
don't
wall
know
that
that-
you're discussing?
I'm thinking, I don't know if we can get the artist to do it, but there needs to be some type of waterproofing on the east wall.
That wall right
Yeah.
there.
I think it has to be included because it's a vital part of the
Right.
whole mural. But
Or could you-
but I do agree that it needs additional waterproofing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is painting the shower pole part of the deal?
It's not. No.
Okay.
Could we? I like your comments on the doors. Everyone's comments on the doors.
Okay.
Could we suggest that the doors have to be a single color? That, from a maintenance perspective, would be easy to repaint, rather than so it's at least clean and fresh as a single
Yes.
color.
Yeah.
Rather than some mural on it that we'd have to pull the artist back.
Well, that's another good point. Is that if then we're leaving, if we don't allow the artist to pick a color for the door, then we're leaving the door maintenance colors to the maintenance department. And if we allow the artist to paint the doors, but not, but in a color, a solid color, then they can tie in the
It would
color
tie
into their
in.
top
That's-
color
that's
scheme. To your point. So then the mural doesn't overlap except in a solid. What am I trying to say?
Like
A
the
solid
background color.
solid background color so that it can be easily
Yeah.
painted, and then we're not relying on the maintenance crew to choose the paints for those doors. And would it be a possibility to maybe put plexiglass over that wall by the shower to
I
keep?
don't think they'd let us.
It'll mold.
That's
Yeah.
That's way worse to keep
artist-
water.
I
off
think
of it?
requesting that, and I just made it in my notes to add to the call that waterproofing on the surface of the eastern facing wall will be required because of the proximity to the shower.
Okay.
So,
Ideally, just when they prep the wall, if they power wash that off and put some primer on there, then when they paint the mural on there, the fact is they just need to have something on top of that, like a
Trey,
like
do
a
you know
graffiti
how
coat or
often they
something.
maintain these bathrooms anyway? Like, how often would the city paint the
Every day.
doors?
Oh, 10 years.
10 years? Okay, so the artist wouldn't have to submit the color they use for the doors to the city to make sure they got the right color.
That's right.
If they were going to maintain it after,
Yeah, we may.
But I mean, 10 years is,
I mean,
Yeah, we might
That's a long
have
time.
it might get repainted by then.
it'd be another mural in place by then. Okay.
I mean, yeah, and that's where, you know, I've had these conversations with the CRA as well, is that sometimes when murals, we're talking about it and we start talking about the longevity and the maintenance, and it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to put this in words, but murals aren't going to last forever. There's not.
They're
We may
not.
have a mural that lasts
Nothing
5
does.
years. We may have one that lasts 10 if we're
Tell me
lucky,
about
but the lifespan of most murals, from what I learned working with other professionals across the state, it's about 5 years.
5 to
And that's
7
what they
years.
see out of their murals.
The
It's,
paint they're using on the can says 5 to 7 years.
That's great.
and if you get more out of that, then you're really lucky, is what I've been told.
It depends on the sun and the direction of the wall face.
Like, I believe our Cape mural is going to last probably longer than the back of the seawalk, just because of proximity to the ocean. You know, who knows? But when the artists use a really high quality paint and they weatherproof and they waterproof and they put that special UV coating on it, you can see it. I mean,
No, I think on regular surfaces, I agree.
Yeah.
But to Terry's point,
Steel
on the
doors.
on steel doors that are handled repeatedly,
okay.
they're going to have more wear and tear.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And it may be something we can leave the doors off of the call, and kind of what we did a little bit with, because we didn't specify in the call for the dumpster enclosure anything about the door. We kind of left that up to the artist. And then once the artist got here, myself and the artist and our superintendent over at Parks that really spearheads all of our maintenance, we went out and looked at it, and everyone kind of agreed it just didn't make sense. And so I think this would be a really appropriate approach, is to not necessarily reference it at all and look at kind of what we get in the calls, and then sort of almost make a game time decision with the artist. I will say our bathrooms are about to get painted, though. We already have a requisition in for that, just to do a fresh coat. And so one of the things I can talk to our Parks Department about is, with the timeline of everything, it could potentially work out where the artist says, yeah, these would look really good, a soft blue or a soft cream or whatever color works. And if we're already going to be painting the interiors anyway, do we just go ahead and paint the doors? But I'm happy to kind of work with the artist and make that be a little bit of a fluid process, just to kind of see what works best.
That would, the square footage of the door areas, if that was eliminated from
The doors are not factored in our square footage.
okay.
I will add that.
That's all I need.
That was the other. I'm glad you said that, because I literally wrote that down somewhere to add. But when we did it, we calculated that 900 is very approximate, but we did
Gotcha.
take out the 6 doors.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
And anything else we need to have in the submission? The picture of the west side that I'm looking at has number 10 on it. Is that something for fire or for some other code thing that the
It's a
artist needs
city,
to?
a city
It
thing.
is. I don't know.
I don't know.
I will get clearance from, honestly, with this kind of thing, I'll get clearance from PD and fire on why the number 10 is there, and it's there.
The pier.
See that little 10 in that top right-hand corner?
Top right hand corner.
That thing.
Could be the address.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
What, that it gets mail?
For, well, I mean, if someone calls 911 from the bathroom.
Yeah, it's but that's the
that
address
what
is nowhere close to.
We're in
10. I mean,
bathroom number
Well, no,
10.
it could be 10 Fifth Avenue North. I'll check.
okay,
We can.
so we'll figure that one out, but we're not sure what.
Right, right.
That may have to stay there in some fashion.
Find out.
It's a question.
Yeah.
Great, no,
good
that
one.
was a great point, because to be honest,
And I'm
that's
sure
one
they're
of
gonna
those
put the
things
signs back up
I just
and
missed
stuff
that.
on the
So-
doors.
And then now, like, obviously, you know, this box on the end, there'll be things that we can paint over. There'll be things that do have to remain as they are, but I will work with police department. We'll make sure if it's not something important for the address, we'll make sure it's not something for the fire marshal. We'll work with Parks. We'll make sure that all of those kind of internal to organization boxes are checked and we don't accidentally do something we're not supposed to.
Right.
Could-
The Casa Marina side is really the focal point.
I mean,
Can they?
Yeah.
Through the chair, is there any thoughts about? Are those universal bathrooms, or are they guys and girls? I think they're universal,
they're
aren't they?
yeah, they're unisex.
Okay.
Yep.
That took care of my question.
They have the stainless steel like jail toilets and stuff.
Yeah, the signs.
It
look like
literally is.
both.
It's all metal in there.
For lasting.
But one thing that was funny is I actually, as I was developing this call and we were having meetings internally, I did get the request more than once, like, hey, can you just specify that this is an exterior mural? And they're like, the artist is going to know when you look at the pictures, but if somebody's just quickly reading the headlines bathroom mural, they're like, we don't need people thinking we're painting the inside of those. And I'm like, that's a great point. So that's another thing. It will be very, very specific when it goes out that nobody thinks that we're going to paint the inside of these bathroom stalls. I want to add that.
Other questions? Comments?
Well, we will turn this live tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Great.
So we should expect something by May, either May 30th or the Monday, either Friday, May 30th, or
Or
the
the
following
first.
Monday. And then we'll have, just to be clear, we'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll have 3 days.
Yep.
So
And
we're-
we are keeping this to Jack's Beach, Neptune Beach, Atlantic Beach. That is it? Is that what you guys decided we want to keep?
One per person.
Yeah,
One submission per
One
person. Is
submission.
everybody on board with that?
yes.
And we're going to have, on both rubrics, both projects, we're going to have a local Jack's Beach box. Is that correct? It says,
Well, so for this one, no, because local for this one would be Jack's, Neptune, or Atlantic.
for the restrooms or for the?
For the restroom.
restroom.
For the restroom one right now. The transformer one, we're still gonna have to kind of
So
get
the
through that.
restrooms,
But
we're
for
going to go
this,
further out. But for the restrooms, but the transformers, we are gonna have a box that says you live in Jacksonville Beach.
yes.
Okay.
Aw.
Okay.
And so, but is everyone comfortable with calling local the 3 beach communities? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay. And then
Very good with
are
it.
we also fine saying that when you submit, please submit one proposal only, or, I will add a caveat in there's one proposal only, and, only the first proposal submitted by the artist will be the one reviewed. Because, inevitably someone is going to break the rule and submit one and then submit 3 after, and we'll add that caveat. One only, whatever you submit first, that's what your submission is.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm in
First
agreement.
impressions, make it count.
Yeah, we're gonna.
But I don't
it's gonna
know
be
if there's
kind of a
some-
time crunch to try and go through these, so we don't want to have.
Right, and I don't know how one would
Duplicate
write it,
submissions,
that there are
yeah.
more bathrooms that are gonna be done.
Mm-hmm. We have 2 more.
Right, so I don't know how
Okay.
you write that, but
Yep.
the submission for this is one submission.
Yep.
Per artist.
Yep.
Local,
Okay,
which is
got it.
beaches here.
I'm good.
Other comments?
I think that $18,000 is a good price. It's 1-story building. It's easy to get to. You can park right next to it. I think.
What's that? 18.
Yeah, I think that's a
18,
really good price. It's not easy work, but it's no ladders.
We don't have to worry about using the restroom.
Parking is available.
So,
You have to pay for it.
Sometimes you go to a place like Queens Harbor, you can't find a place to park.
Okay, cool. Good. So this afternoon, I'll make those couple of tweaks to the call, and I will review it again with our communications manager. We will update our application, and then we will put that live tomorrow.
Perfect.
The compliment on the details to the transformers. There was a lot of details about security, electrocution, and et cetera, and that was you covered all the bases on that. I
Yeah.
felt really well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other items we need to discuss?
I
Anything?
don't have any, but I believe we might have. Does anybody else?
Is there? I'll just ask one quick question, and that is there a time that we can? We looked at this submission. This it was a friend of mine sent it to me, and they
Costa Rica.
and it has
Summer.
it has photographs within the letters,
Yeah.
which you guys seem to like.
Yeah.
And is there when can pass it around? I guess you can get a better look at it. And when can we move? When can we start looking at that? How do we do that?
I think what would make sense is to really treat it kind of like a workshop type item and look at it and get consensus like, okay, we would like to do Jack's Beach. And then I think talk about, because I believe what you were wanting to do is almost do a photograph contest.
Correct.
And then fill those with photos. So
I know, and I
I think we can make it pretty simple today. And if everybody likes this idea and we would like to see something unique, we haven't done a photograph contest yet with our art. If everybody would like to see us expand on that here in the over the next month before our next meeting, I can honestly just start looking at calls that are photo contests, and I can draft us a call for it. And then I can have a call ready to review.
That'd be great.
Okay. I can do
Okay,
that.
because it could have it could have the pier in there. It could have seagulls. It could have surfers. It could have beach people. It could have, you name it. I mean, and
Well, and it
so
opens a
instead
whole
of just the
different pool of
letters-
artists. You know, we've had muralists. Our muralists
Yeah.
are wonderful. We've now done a sculpture. Our sculptor was wonderful. We haven't had photography yet.
Yeah.
So I think this could also be really cool to open up a new avenue for artwork and different artists.
So do you need this?
I'll keep it. I'll
You-
happily keep it. Yes. And then what I can do between now and one of our future meetings, like I said, I'll draft up a call for a Jack's Beach photograph contest. And I know other places have done this, so I can also reach out to some of my professional colleagues and just kind of get quotes on like, hey, who did you use for fabrication and what was your process? Because this would be the one thing that would be really unique about this is going to be we would probably be the lead on the project management and installation component, because there would be essentially a contest for photos where then we would have to get the photographs in. They're awarded. We've got JAXP 8, right? Am I right? 8 letters? I'm embarrassed how many times I've had to count.
Yeah, if we do Jack's speak.
So 8 letters that we would have to do, and we would pick essentially 8 photographs, get the rights to those, and then we would work with a professional fabricator. So it would be kind of almost 2 calls in reality.
We could take it another level. We could take it another level.
I think that's considered a digital sign. And it can't change only once every 24 hours. I'm yelling at you. Just kidding. That is beautiful, though.
Panama? Ecuador.
That's cool.
Yeah,
This,
that's
though,
very
I mean,
cool.
seriously, this is a great idea.
Very cool.
This is incredible.
And you like the little girl over there.
Is that lit
Yes.
24/7?
I love it. I love it.
That's cool.
It's on the river in Geikie.
I will
I
work
like
on a
that.
call between, and so I think what it sounds like this will end up turning into is essentially
They have
2
one of those
calls.
eyes.
And I would think we could issue simultaneously, where one is a call for photographs, and then one is a call for fabricators who can build and do the letters. And then what we would do is award the 8 images, and then award the fabricator and installer. And then that person would be responsible for taking the high quality, high resolution images and then superimposing them on the letters. So that is no idea.
Beyond our pay grade.
That is way over my pay grade. No clue.
When you have these wraps on vans and stuff like that, they don't necessarily fade, correct?
They do.
They do?
Yeah, they same thing. They only last a few years.
But I mean, this could be something where we talk to, again, like I'll talk to some of my colleagues that I've met through the Florida Association of Public Art Professionals, which, by the way, I am now a member of. Heather just approved the invoice today, actually. So I'm a member of the Florida Association for Public Art Professionals, and we have a whole network where we can ask questions just like that. Like, hey,
Right.
you have these letters. If the lifespan of that wrap is, I don't know, this is such 3 years, let's say. And then that could be something where we have a contest every 3 years and we change out the imagery. I think it could be, the letters themselves are probably going to be a very permanent installation,
Right.
whereas the imagery on them, especially if it's a wrap, I think could be changed out every couple of years. I think that would almost be even cooler to plan to change it out every few years.
Okay.
Right. It,
So.
could, it could evolve.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will, this will be something we'll talk about in the next, or you're basically moving forward on it.
Yeah. I will.
Okay.
I will draft both calls, one for a fabricator, one for
Super.
photographs, and we'll go from there.
And I know you guys want to get out of here.
It's okay.
Is there a place we could put? That the Florida the surfer license tag
Mhm.
is the most requested tag in the state of Florida, the one with the surfer on it. Is there some place we could maybe put that tag as a mural? Paint a wall with that tag, the Florida tag with the surfer.
In the summer?
Because it would be a selfie spot as well. I believe it would be a selfie spot,
I mean,
and it is
because it's
the most requested tag in the state of Florida.
I would assume there would be, again, our favorite copyright laws somewhere, but I don't. That is a question I will ask legal.
For the attorney.
I'm just not. I don't want to answer that yes or no. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some type of a copyright with that tag because it's the same piece of artwork.
But maybe
There may
we
not
simply
be.
maybe we simply have to get permission.
Yeah, I was going to say it could be
because
as simple.
it would be publicizing that tag.
Yeah, I mean, because it is on
It's in the
T-shirts
public
and
domain.
Yeah.
things like that. So okay,
Well, it's in the prison domain. Sorry.
okay, for that. Yes, I will ask the city attorney.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got other things, but we'll wait.
What?
I've got to pace myself here. Working on the fountain at 16th Avenue South. We're trying to get that bigger. Working on a marker, a historical marker, and trying to get the Paws Park's name changed. Back to the original Paws Park was supposed to be called Sandy Paws,
Aw.
supposed, and it was a much better name, but somebody didn't, and the person that made the park an actual park, brought it to light, was Sandy Goldwing.
Right.
And somebody had, I won't name names, I was there, but they had an axe to grind, and they're potentially going to kill the project. And so Sandy graciously pulled her name off the tag, and it just became Paws Park. So that was 20 years ago. So they had a 20-year anniversary. So hopefully
Yes.
we could come around and maybe bring it back to the original. She had T-shirts and everything for the park, and it was going to be Sandy Paws, which I think is a fantastic name
Okay.
for the dog park. You guys like that?
At that time, it was actually Muddy Paws because it was just a fence
Yeah.
with the
But anyway.
retention pond in the middle.
Let me let you guys get out of it. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Any other items for discussion?
No, I'm
We
all
are-
good.
we are-
Heather,
we're
you have
good.
anything?
No.
All right. Cool. Thank